5th of October, 2024 at 9:51 a.m. here in Snohomish, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey. It's the Dev and Design podcast where sometimes I start and Trey is not paying attention and drinking coffee, where two people, a dev and a designer, are telling the story about how they made the world's best astrology software. I am your designer, and I'm Jake. He is your engineer, and he is Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
I think what's going to be very shocking to the viewer today is that we are actually going to show a product and design, which seems well out of our comfort zone of what this podcast has been.
For the last, three cycles.
For the last three cycles. So buckle up, everybody. It's going to get wild here. We are filming, so we the reason that we were filming in the morning because we have a flight later today. The reason that we are waiting until 9:51 a.m. is because both of our facial hairs were untenable for broadcast, and so
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like mine is unruly, and I blame the moisture, the Pacific Northwest moisture.
Yeah, basically I am sitting amongst the slugs here outside, and we decided to do something different where Trey's inside, I'm outside.
Yeah.
I am the producer of the podcast. We'll see how well that goes. So far, so good. Today's episode is called the Refactor Reactor. You can see the checking question even though what's that?
I said, say that 10 times fast.
The reactor Ooh, that is hard. You can see my checking question already because I forgot to hide it, but I'll do my check-in. The product is working again. Very excited about that. We have some homepage task flows. Very excited about that. I think you're going to see a lot of smiles, a lot of laughs on this podcast today. I know that goes against our kind of viewership that is looking for pain and sorrow from us, but you know what? We're going to try it. We're going to try our best. But, let's go to the pain and sorrow through the checking question. Mr. Henry, as you saw in the agenda, I'm wondering what sparks your curiosity the most? And the reason that this question came up is because we did some primary research, meaning that we talked with potential customers or someone that would be a target for a potential customer. And I have to say that every time I go into research, I'm like kind of dreading it because I've got other work to do. And then I have the conversation and it sparks so much energy and curiosity with me. There are so many things that gentleman said that I was like, what's that? Oh my God, that's a thing. And I love that. And I'm wondering from you, I just answered my own checking question. What sparks your curiosity?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I mean, that's very close to my answer, which is somebody else's enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Somebody else who's doing their thing and they are just really into it. It almost doesn't matter what the topic is. And if they're really into it and just excited about it and enthusiastic about it, then it definitely sparks my curiosity. Even if it's in a topic area that I know well, somebody else's experiences and enthusiasm in that topic area will almost inevitably teach me something new. So even if I'm talking to somebody who's a software engineer with a focus in user experience, they might be talking about some specific factor of things that I don't spend a lot of time on or whatever, and their enthusiasm for that, it just sparks interest. And I think for me, curiosity comes downstream of joy. It's there's a joyful enthusiasm, and then it's that's really cool. I want that joyful enthusiasm too.
You mentioned that it's somebody's passion that is overflowing, and for the most part, that is really joyful and exciting to watch. But for the most part, I'll give you an example of when somebody's passion and enthusiasm was not joyful to watch. I was part of a meetup yesterday that had a Zoom call where the host of the Zoom call did not properly lock down the screen sharing. And the first thing that happens when the Zoom call starts after everyone is saying hi to each other is a very, very intense pornographic video is being shown with full sound. And I'm in the library, and I suspect that troll has a lot of passion for what, let's just say, he does. I didn't like it. I could appreciate the artisticness from afar, but I didn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think when I heard you tell this story, this morning. I was like, if you're gonna troll, do it right. And I think like really intense pornographic scene is trolling appropriately. Like if you're gonna, it's kind of, I think there's like clowns of, well, and probably clowns today too. Like clowns are meant to kind of like poke fun at people and also to kind of like show the ridiculousness of all things. And like what better place to show the ridiculousness of all things than like in like an intense, like we're all here to learn or whatever, and then you come in with like a really intense porn scene. I feel like there is an art to that, like there is an art to trolldom. So whoever that troll was, good job for reminding us that we're all meatbags and ridiculous and it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. The host was mortified. Took it,
Which is of course what the trolls are looking for.
Yeah. That's what I said. Don't feed the trolls. And honestly, like
trolls.
clowns, I guess clowns of yore, the way in which they would poke fun at humanity was to, point out something that maybe the king has done and then get beheaded. And now the clowns of today are like, take a look at this hardcore pornographic video. Yeah, it was the host was mortified. The host was thrown off. I want that host in the future to be just be like, like it's fine, just boop boop, don't worry about it. Like, dude, just think of that Obama gif, right? That's all you got to do. Don't feed the trolls. But anyways, enough about trolls. Let's talk about the product. Trey, why don't you talk a little bit about the Refactor Reactor journey that you've been on, and then we can start showing a little bit of the product.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's been watching the last couple of cycle videos knows that we've been in the process of kind of like refactoring a bunch of code down to what we're really targeting for our like initial release or releases. We had a lot of stuff in there that was based on assumptions that we made early on in the product development process, which just kind of like turned out to be, we sort of had to navigate through a lot of things. Not only like learning platform, learning processes, learning, paradigms and methodologies and whatever, and then also having to like try to, like really tackle the hardest problem that I think designers and software engineers can really tackle, which like, I think it really is like, I don't know. I like, maybe we could have a check-in question at some point, which is like, what could be harder than astrology to build software around?
There's a lot of, I mean, it's got a lot of the thing about astrology here. Actually, let me go back to the 2-up for this one. The thing about astrology that makes it difficult is that there are a lot of domain objects. It's not filled with a bunch of information architects or content strategists. So we use terms very loosely. So these domain objects have been around for like 3,500 years. Those domain objects have morphed over time because there's different practices, and we're not great about using very structured language around this stuff. And I will give you an example of that from that was sponsored by the primary research. That was not what we talked about, but I think speaks a little bit to that. But yes, it's difficult because of humans, much like everything in this world. Humans make things difficult.
Yeah, and the more time that humans have to get their fingers into something and make it difficult over many years.
Look, we had the Egyptian bounds, and then Ptolemy came around and be like, I got my own bounds. And I'm like, dude, why? Like,
yeah, but even the variations on the same pattern of thing, it's like, okay, well, you have terms or bounds, and there's different ways of portraying them, but they're kind of similar things. Or you have 27 lunar mansions or 28 lunar mansions, depending upon your system, or you have a tropical zodiac or a sidereal zodiac. Like all of those things are still like categorically kind of similar. Where it really gets complicated is when you're talking about like, oh, a chart could be representing body like positions of things in the night sky, or that chart could be representing some kind of calculation based on other charts, or it's this kind of like combinatorial sort of like thing.
Yeah, is that Mars or is that Bonotti's part of war? I'm like, oh boy. All right, great.
all right, calm down.
All right, I didn't realize we were doing sports betting. Let's do Bonotti's part of war. Let's go.
Yeah, okay. Anyways,
back to the product.
This is the first demo that I will be showing that is showing the product in like, I don't know how many cycles. I think this is
it's been 3 iterations, I think.
Yeah. So, welcome back to the product. This is the homepage. You might remember it from 3 videos ago. So we can dive right in. Look, it's a chart.
It's a
The product
chart.
has a chart in it again.
It's a chart.
Uh, yeah, so you can see here that it's based on my current location. It's updating the time. All good stuff. Point details all work. I was just pointing out before we did this video that like right now, almost everything is in either detriment or fall. I think the only things that aren't are Mercury and Saturn. Everything else, it's like the sun is in fall, the moon is in fall, Venus is in detriment, uh, Jupiter is in detriment, Mars is in fall.
So basically, we're going to be good with our communication, good with the internet, and good with our boundaries and time. Other than that, it's a mess right now.
Yeah, although
This
Saturn is
podcast.
retrograde in Pisces right now, so that
Yeah.
that brings its own sort of interesting thing. Anyway, but you know, just showing
You know,
that
that
the
makes sense because we are going to travel and time is going to be super messed up for us. But, you know, who knows? Like, whatever. That's fine.
true.
It makes perfect sense.
So yeah, so all of the stuff which we showed before, including like speed. Oh, we still have this bug with the when you change the points, the both like basically, yeah. Anyway, ignore the fact that the arrows are wrong here. But the most of that stuff is working correctly now, so that's super exciting. The cast chart is now working again. So let's see here. I can do my birth chart. I'll do Carson City and change Cancer, which is
There's a fun thing
correct.
about the big three because Trey made mention about the big three. It's fine. We can we'll see the chart here. Trey did mention like, shouldn't we put the ascendant first? Because it's really
Oh
what the
yeah,
ascendant is what you're looking at to make sure to verify the chart. And I was like, yeah,
yeah,
that's true. However, whenever we talk about the big three, you always say sun, moon, ascendant. And if all of a sudden
right.
you switch the order on someone, they might get confused. And that was a nice conversation
Yeah.
that he and I had.
Yeah. And I'm gonna show in the firmament too here in a second, because we will show like oh well actually this won't be in the firmament right now, but like once we add native back in, for example, or any ring cards where we want to show like the big three, they'll be in that sun moon rising order, and so we don't want to present them in one order in one place and another order in another place. That would
That
be
would be called shapeshifting, and that would be terrible.
yeah.
And we do not want to shapeshift.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, okay, so
back to the
here's
demo.
here's my chart. Voila, that is all working great. Cosmic Console still working great. I can add a here and now ring. So this is my transits. You can see that my transits are updating in real time, and then you know also all of this stuff. Also, so this is my natal moon, and then this is the transiting moon.
Which is in fall.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, exactly as previously mentioned. So yeah, so we've got the product is now working again. It's very exciting. I'll quickly show the firmament as well. It's much more streamlined now. So core components hasn't really changed. Glyphs and glyphs hasn't really changed. So here, you know, we're showing UI car. So here's our big three label, and then you know we have also here where we you know can kind of like mess around with this stuff and just make sure that all the stuff lays out correctly. So that all works, and then we have ring, which you know we were just seeing on the chart there, but we have just event and now right now, and then point placement. This is all the point placement detail stuff. So yeah, it's coming back together again, and it's very exciting, and it's really nice to be able to use the product again. It's just really been down and out for the last little bit here, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's
It's
it's great.
it took about 2 cycles to redesign perspectives, and then it took about, I'm going to say, 3 iterations. I keep saying cycles. 3 iterations or 4, maybe even 4 iterations to re-engineer it. And the funny thing about all of this is that what ends up happening is you go through this entire journey of like the 6-week journey, and you say to yourself, "Oh, now I get it." And the only way that you get to get it is if you go through it. And I hate that about humanity. I wish that we were smarter, that we didn't have to experience something and kind of cogitate on something in order to like make it simpler or make it streamlined. It just happens. And yeah, I think that would be a great way for me to talk a little bit about like the design demo that we should go into. So what you're seeing here is a screen from Astro Gold, which I believe is called the traditional Astro sheet, if I remember correctly. What I was doing was deconstructing this screen yet again, because now that I've gone through with Trey the redoing of perspective, I think I was making a lot of bad assumptions about how things work. And finally, these two squares, so on the ring, so the ring as an object, these two cards down here finally, for me, clicked into place. There is data on the ring, and that data is searchable. So there could be hundreds or even thousands of Arabic parts or points that we calculate that as part of a chart. But to show all of that would be overwhelming, to say the least. And how the power of this software is allowing people to show what they need to show and take away what they need to take away easily and fluidly, and share those views with other people. But that doesn't mean that we're limiting the data. And so here we have this thing of a point placement. A point placement is a point and an event, so, or a date and time. There's a bunch of them that are available that are in the data that we will save. You can search against. They will be there regardless of whether they're visible or not. And that's what the perspective is driving. So the perspective drives the visibility of something, while the points are always there. And I have always gotten this messed up, so messed up, through the design of this stuff. And there's a bunch of other things within this deconstruction that I am also incredibly excited about, like the difference between, let me go down here, maybe this one. There's a difference between an aspect type, so a sextile or trine, there's names for that, whatever, there's a quality to it, and the actual aspect. An aspect is a point placement by a point placement, and an aspect has an aspect type. And you might be asking yourself, well, if you only care about the limited number of things here in aspect type, why is it in there? Well, the reason is because there are archetypal significations for what that is, and to allow somebody to bubble those significations up, whether it's stuff that we write or it's stuff that they write, they can start making the product their own, and they can start crafting. There might be a different expression of Libra in the 10th house that one astrologer has to another astrologer, and to allow someone to talk about their specific practitioner signification as part of this, that makes that turns this piece of science software into art. That makes sense. And right now, professional astrology software does not allow someone to do that. And that's why there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't work for many different astrologers, but that's one of the big reasons why I don't think it works. I'm not doing a great job explaining this, but just go with me on this one. Astrologers have art. They want to make sure that when they see something, they see patterns and things, they can capture those patterns. And how they can best capture those patterns requires a very rigorous way in which the objects in the system are represented. Like you see here where it says like aspect versus aspect type. We are just going to use the word aspect for that. Like, that is an aspect. But having a differentiation between these two things, at least for me and Trey, make sure that we are not screwing up the things that are like the archetypal idea of a thing versus the expression of a thing in practice. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you nailed it. Like this is getting to the point of the complexity, how good software honors the complexity of the problem space, but doesn't push that complexity onto the user. And so this is where the complexity actually manifests. It manifests in how we do the design and how we do the implementation, so that you as the user of Cosmic at some point is not sort of confronted with all of the complexity of that. And on the topic of like the customization, we have so far heard in all of our primary research some common refrains, and one of the common refrains is allow me to create my own, create and store my own delineations. So, like and to be able to go very deeply with that. So not just like here's my own delineation for planet or planet and sign or planet and sign and house, or maybe sign and house if you're doing whole sign or whatever. But also like maybe I also want to say, planet in sign and then planet's dispositor, like the ruler of the sign. And so like, I might want to go down that next layer of complexity and say like, when this planet's ruler is doing this or in this sign or in this house, like I want to have a custom delineation for that. And we've heard from practitioners that one of the things that a lot of practitioners like to do that are actually taking clients and like really, like their primary
It's their
income is
full-time
coming from
job.
client work.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, that it's really useful to like remind clients about things. So like being able to say like either send them like a what one person called a goodie bag after the session, where like it's stuff that's like reminding you about like parts of the discussion, or like reports generation and stuff like that. And it's like there's a lot of software that does report generation, and a lot of software charges you extra money for it. They're canned readings done by people and sometimes very good astrologers, but it's not done by the astrologer that you did the consultation with.
Yeah,
And there's people that are working on AI for this stuff, and bless,
yeah,
both Jake and I believe that AI interpretation and AI delineation is removing the art
yeah,
from the process of
yeah,
astrology, and we're not excited about it. But I will say we are excited about being able to do things like, let's say that you are creating custom delineations which are being stored within Cosmic, and then you want to be able to say like, based on my custom delineations, give me a summary of this placement, for example. That is a thing that a well-trained model could actually do
yeah.
wonderfully well.
Because it's trained on you.
Right.
It's not trained on some random set of practitioners. Anything that starts to take away the art is a bad a bad use of AI. There was a tweet. I'm gonna misquote the tweet, but it said like, "Why would I want AI to do my character sketching so that I can go do laundry? Why can't AI do laundry while I can do my character sketching?" And like, why would I want an AI to do the art of astrology for me when I need it to instead to help me to explore the connections that I can't see right away in the stuff that I'm doing to help me become a better practitioner and a better artist? That is that as a like kind of coach or helper or a critiquer, as opposed to it synthesizing something for you, like straight up synthesizing for you, seems like a much better use of AI within the astrology space, and basically any space for that matter.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think we're still feeling it out. We're in the age of AI, and we're all figuring it out in real time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's definitely our take.
That was a nice divergent discussion about AI and what our product is going to be, or maybe, and what our product
You
might
never
not
know
be.
what's going to happen on our cosmic channel.
But I think the more important thing is to figure out what we're actually going to deliver, and this is getting a little bit closer to that. So what you're seeing here is what's called the object map. The object, I think it's mostly complete. So what the object map is, it shows you core content, metadata, and nested objects, and how those things exist within a feature. So a product has this stuff, a release will have this stuff. There's a feature, and there's this thing called a release bullet. You'll see here that I have this thing called major objects and minor objects. That's a me thing. Don't worry about it. But just know that there was a bunch of stuff up here, and I was like, nah, this stuff doesn't make sense, whatever. So, like, if you remember from last week, I was deconstructing other people's homepages. This is really what the deconstruction comes down to get to a task flow. So the idea is that you would go to a homepage, which would be the product page. This is cosmic astrology. We would show a bunch of, attributes on that page. There would be these features here, videos, all this stuff. Jumping then to a feature page, we would go through each of the features. And if you go to the release page, we show you the release, and there's major releases, which are tied to features, some of the release bullets, and there are minor releases. Again, some release bullets, are tied to the features. But for the most part, like, this is a pretty straightforward way of thinking about our homepage. And it's good to be straightforward because, we got a straightforward product right now. It will get more complicated later, and we have the room to make that more complicated in the future. So, for example, if we've got multiple products, how is that going to start showing up? We already have a plan for that. You just don't see it right there. The only date that we really need to hit for that is the major podcast that we're going to be on, I believe, comes out in the earliest of early December. And so we need to have something ready to go by that date.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I care about is I care about lots of things, but the thing that is top of mind for me is that I'm coming very close, talking about timing techniques, I'm coming very close to an L2 peak period in my life. I think it goes from like January to August. Maybe it's an L3 peak period. Can't remember. It's an L something. It's not an L1. And I would like to have something shipped during that January to August 2025 timeframe. That we're not taking money. We don't have a lot of external pressure on this stuff. We want to make sure that the product is good and that it is being elected for properly. And so we're just going to do that. Cool?
Love it.
I love it too. What should the viewer do with themselves today on this damp, moist, verdant fall day here in the Pacific Northwest?
Deal with the dampness making your hair do weird things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like brush your beard, brush your hair.
Straight iron your
if you have
beard.
it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Just give it a go. Okay. Well, you get that straight iron out. You make sure that everything is looking nice and tight and not so frizzy, and you're going to have yourself a wonderful day. I can already feel it. Have yourself a beautiful weekend, or whatever day you watch this video. Be well. Take care. We love you very much, and we're going to see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.